status. Married, not dead. I'm having all sorts of mixed emotions, by the way, guys. I have to tell you up front, this weekend was it was just an emotional weekend with everything that's going on, starting with, Trump's comments about NFL players on Friday and how that bubbled over into the weekend. And here we are, like a year removed from Colin Kaepernick taking a knee or sitting down in a preseason game. And we're in full on nut job status in the culture. So that already had me in a way, it had me very contemplative today. And it's strangely related to our monthly topic, and I'll tell you guys how in a second. But then on top of that, I found out today that one of the dads at my youngest daughter's school, her Montessori school, had a heart attack over the weekend at age 39. Fit guy. He was running a triathlon. He left behind a wife and 3 kids, young kids, all under
final heart attack. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, fatal heart attack.
That's terrible.
So he's a year, he's 39. So whenever I see someone that's fit and dies from just doing exercise, it always freaks me out a little bit. And I have to really practice gratitude so that I don't focus on the fact that people around you, your age, can just die, like doing the thing they love doing. He's running a triathlon. Now, it was a very hot weekend. It was hot everywhere. So that's
still any massive heart attack at 39 is not, you can't be like, well, it was pretty hot. But yeah, that's still, how does it trigger that? That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if he actually overheated.
And that caused it, maybe.
Right. Or if he over supplemented and then went too hard. And if he had some family history, you just don't know. That's the sucky thing about reading about deaths from the outside. You don't know all the details, so your imagination just runs fucking wild. It's like I saw Eddie Vedder's name trending on Twitter, and I got like a moment of terror. I was like, oh my God, now Eddie Vedder's dead. Like, what is fucking going on?
Oh, yeah.
And no, he was just crushing it at a festival.
yeah, he did.
Everything's all good. My man is still with us. It's a good day. So yeah, it just gets you in that place of contemplation. So I had this thought about conspiracy theories kind of being like compliments. They can land if you want, or I'm sorry, conspiracy theories being like false compliments. They can land if the recipient wants to believe it. We'll let that marinate for you a little bit.
That's the qualifier, whether it's a good conspiracy theory, only if the listener is primed to believe it.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with false compliments. You can give someone a false compliment and it will land as long as the person really wants it to be true. And
right. It's kind of like determining that your course of action is God's will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
of course it was. That's what you wanted to do.
Right. And so I feel like this is where we're at now in culture, is that we have, we hear the term fake news. It's now been coined, but how about fake memes? Fake memes is a big deal right now because they're much more easily shared than news articles, even fake ones. And all they have to do is make a blanket statement that feels true, and people will eat it up. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen the meme just in the last 3 days of a split screen with, on the left side, you have soldiers being carried off the field, and in big bold text it says, these guys make $35,000 and respect the flag. And then on the right side, it has Colin Kaepernick and another player on their knee and saying these guys make millions of dollars and disrespect our flag. And it's fake. It's fake memes. I can't tell you how many right-wing leaning people believe that is true. That they don't. The media has fucked this up. That's what I'm getting at. Whether it be through social media or traditional media, they fucked this whole thing up, guys. They have. Like, they don't understand that the football players that are making the millions of dollars, that are taking a knee, they're doing it for the voiceless minorities that are being killed and do not have the same platform.
Oh, I don't think they fucked it up. I think that was the plan.
Oh, well, fair enough. I mean, good point. But I think that you get all these people up in arms, ready to fight with their tiki torches and whatever else they're ready to do. And they're being played. They're being played like a fiddle. And you just want to have the opportunity to sit down with them and explain what the protest really is, what it's really about, why you've been misled. I tweeted this out today. People forget that the U.S. government pays the NFL. They've paid them now over $13 million, I believe. And this started in 2009. Before 2009, players did not have to stand or even be on the field for the national anthem during regular season games. So that is a propaganda. You're watching propaganda. When you watch a football game, you see the football players out there, you think you're seeing something organic. What you're really seeing is our federal tax dollars being spent and used as a recruitment tool for the military.
Well, no, that's not every team.
And support.
That's not every team that does that. Not every team has accepted money for that. For example, the Tennessee Titans have not. And also,
the
I don't believe
the NFL accepted the money, not the teams. The money went to the NFL, not the teams.
Yeah. Well,
so let me clarify that.
Okay. So I mean, yeah, there is some of that, but specifically, the teams had opportunities to accept more money, and a lot of them have opted not to do that.
Good.
So, and what I will say is, since 2009, it's actually in the rule book that they are to be there to stand, or else they could be fined money, or even the franchise could be fined draft picks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean,
because
it does escalate.
But Brian, because they got paid.
Because they got paid.
The NFL got paid, so now there's a rule.
Well, it's all about the money, right? Yeah. You got to follow the money. I mean, you're telling me that that Trump came out and said what he said, and then the Vegas proceeded to have one of its biggest days in years, having 13 covers on home dogs. Come on. You're telling me that? No. Follow the money. He happens to have owned a casino, right?
Trump?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all fucking money. Like, I don't believe any of that shit. It's all grandstanding.
Here's the deal. So that's a great point, and we can dive deeper into it because it's an interesting thing to follow. But again, it goes back to that thing of, if we want to believe it, then the conspiracy theory will land with us. Similar to the Nashville shooting that happened over the weekend, where it's very easy for me as a minority to say, no, minorities don't do that. They don't shoot up churches. Something's going on. But at the same time, I had to go search back in my own history to a friend that I had that was normal, legitimately normal on Tuesday, and was insane and committed by that weekend. So when somebody has a schizophrenic break, they break. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but I've witnessed that in real life, and you forget the lessons you've been taught. But the point I was trying to make before is just simply this. If you're a right-wing American and you are pissed off about this protest, or you're pissed off about Black Lives Matter, and you're trying to say all lives matter, then you have been misled by the media and by social media because you don't understand what the actual protest is. That's all I'm saying. So these people are like, oh, you're not going to stand for our flag? Well, guess what? They didn't have to before they got paid, is my point. They got paid. They're getting paid to do it. The NFL is, and they're not profit sharing necessarily directly with the players. So it's this really strange thing where if you got to sit down with, and see, it matters to me because I'm in an interracial marriage and I have white in-laws that are right wing. And it's important for me to be able to sit down with them and say, listen, when they're saying Black Lives Matters, it's because only Black people are being killed by police officers. If white people were being killed by police officers, or police officers were killing police officers, then Blue Lives Matters would make sense and All Lives Matter would make sense. The protest is you're killing innocent Black people in the street. Okay?
In a disproportionate, it's a disproportionate number. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Right. And Nick, do you
it just gets in trouble? Just so you know, real quick, because I think, and this is where the media tends to win, is that a lot of Black voices forget to temper what they're about to say, and they just utter the sentence that you just did, and they say that just Black people are getting killed by cops, and it's totally not. It's not accurate at all. It's not.
Well, I'm sure it's not. And I'm sure there are exceptions, and I'm sure there are several exceptions. So I will step back. Yeah, I'll step back and say a disproportionate number.
Yes, and in many cases they're either unarmed or
exactly,
being killed for offenses that it never should have warranted, that type of violence. So yeah, that's definitely the thing. And I think it's a good note that you made, Chris, about being in an interracial relationship, because I too am in one. And thinking about this, I actually had a thought the other day. Do you realize that there is probably no person on the planet who would say that taking the flag and putting it at half-mast is disrespectful or unpatriotic? Mm-hmm. So how then is taking a knee any different than putting the flag at half-mast? Do you know why we put the flag at half-mast? That's in times of sorrow, or reflection, something that has happened to the nation, in memorial. Then why is it unpatriotic to take a knee? Because that is the same thing that these folks are attempting to do, right? Draw attention to the sorrow, the sadness, to potentially, like you mentioned, on a grand stage, memorialize the lives of people that do not have the same stage. And as I was thinking about that, kind of processing that thought, I just wish that someone who had a stage would say that. Mm-hmm. I had this discussion with someone who, at first, before we had this discussion, was thinking, yeah, it's wrong, right? They shouldn't do that. It's just wrong. And I mentioned that to them, and within 5 minutes, it turned their entire opinion of it. And they agreed with me and said, yeah, if they would just say that, all of this stuff would go away. But they're not going to say that.
And where the media, where the media is at fault, Nick, is that they continue to feed the dark side all this energy.
Right. And again, we need, that one person who has the stage to get up and say something as simple as that. I mean, it is literally like these people aren't leaving the field. They're not spitting at the flag. Yeah, but they're not, what I'm saying is, they're not spitting at the flag. They're not, giving the middle finger. They're not burning the flag.
Oh, no, so I was responding to your last statement. I think somebody must have. One of those guys must have said it, and they just didn't show it.
Yeah, and maybe. And, I just say that, sometimes if you get the right person to say it, people can't help but hear it. But
and it has to be in the right moment, or the media doesn't have to report
You're correct.
Because it's all on how they frame it. Just like I shared with you guys earlier, we were talking about that Nashville shooting, and I have no opinion on it. The only thing I noticed is that when they showed the guy on TV, they picked the two angriest pictures they could find of this guy.
Right. Did you read the comments on the Instagram post, Jason? That was on his profile.
I didn't see.
That was unbelievable. It only took 3 comments before "dumb N-word" came out.
Yeah, of course it did.
3
comments. Of course it did. Because that was the picture they showed. Like, you see him? This is an angry, violent, right there. Just like you always thought, and we've always showed you. Boys in the Hood.
And then, right. Well, here is the other side of the coin, is that he is Sudanese. So as I was looking through some of the articles, a number of the articles, depending on where you are in the world, right, stress the fact that he was a Sudanese immigrant.
Of course.
And every time they referred to him throughout the article in multiple places, basically said Sudanese immigrant. Sudanese immigrant kills da-da-da. The Sudanese immigrant walked into the building. The Sudanese immigrant, like, it just kept saying that over and over again. This media cloud over the information definitely makes it difficult.
Right. This guy had lived here since he was 4 years old.
Right.
He's no more an immigrant than any of us. Just because you're an immigrant on paper, I mean, he probably didn't even have an accent. I mean, I don't know, but he'd been here since he was 4. He's an American. You know what I mean? How long is common law marriage? 7 years?
7 years.
Yeah. At what point do you get common law citizenship?
Citizenry.
Citizenship, right.
Yeah, exactly. But
and that's when you mentioned citizenship, dude, that's another thing that I thought about when people are, lambasting these folks for taking a knee, and they're saying that it is un-American. And it's funny to me because I think about, what does it mean to be an American? Citizenship is what makes you an American. Right. So these folks are not un-American. They are citizens of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. So what are you really saying? What are you really getting at?
I think here, this is what they're really getting at. And we could staple it in a lot of ways. And you could say there's a lot of racism, baked in there. And there's just, angst against the left and, anger for what's happened before. But I think there's something maybe a little more profound that what we're missing with where the anger has been misplaced is where the love and devotion have been misplaced. When you're upset by this and by all the other things that you're seeing, what you're really saying is that my hope and my commitment is based on something so thin as a song or a piece of fabric that denying its existence can bring my view of my own country down. Like, it's not that they did something so wrong, it's that what you believe in is so empty. And if you believe that the words of a song must be stood and honored, I mean, it's always been there. Was there a vote by the modern people on this? I'm not trying to disrespect it, but this is...
No, we've touched on this subject before, and you've mentioned it under a different discussion, different topic, but basically it is the indoctrination of the tradition.
Yeah.
Right. So the tradition is what makes you American.
Mm-hmm. Right. Tradition and patriotism have
there you go. That's what
each other.
Right. But that's the thing, is that there's, that's the big issue. And I get it from, it's like my father-in-law was in the military, served in Vietnam. The flag to him is very, very important. Like, he's one that if he walks into a building and a flag is hung up on a pole, and the flag is of a certain length that it touches the ground, he will find a way to get that pole to be higher so that the flag is no longer touching the ground. There was a flag that was mutilated just because people weren't caring about it. I think it was like after Memorial Day. It was torn up, it was, frayed, dirty. He gave this thing a burial. He burned the flag. He said the only way that you are supposed to dispose of a flag is to burn it. So that's what he did, right? That's the only way. This is the tradition. This is the indoctrination. This is the history that he's had with the flag. And for him to not stand at the national anthem, to not salute the flag, to not put your hand over your heart, it's unfathomable. You know, how
Right.
could someone who calls themselves an American and the people who have lived and died for your freedom did so with the flag, you know, all that stuff. And then I understand it.
Well, so let me
what
piggyback
I
on
would
that
hope-
and give. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You said you had a.
I was going to say, what I would hope is that the idolatry would actually take a back seat to what these folks are trying to bring attention to.
Nope.
That's the part, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. It's like, if you could have both, that's cool. Like, get it, but understand why they're doing this and say, oh, wow, like that's a huge statement. Let's focus on that so that doesn't have to be a thing anymore. Get him up off his knee. Actually address
Yeah, but then they'd
the
have
issue.
to do something other than just complain.
Exactly. Doesn't
on social
address the
media,
issue.
But that, you know, and I look, I watched and I heard it mentioned, I think once, and I didn't hear it mentioned again, but, you know, and it's something, you know, I probably shared before. I'll share it again because I think it's important in this, because I didn't realize it for a long, long time. I didn't know what that meant. And, you know, I don't have a problem with, you know, the national anthem, and I do stand and you know, salute. But, you know, I was raised to where that was absolutely paramount and it was a must. You know, you had to do that. But, you know, somebody mentioned the line in the anthem of land of the free. And, you know, that these men are doing this because they don't believe that's applicable to their race. That doesn't apply. It hasn't applied properly.
Right.
It's not.
What do minorities see as with the flag versus everyone else?
You can't stand and say, I believe this. You know, I support this if you have never seen it in your life. And you just can't keep saying, well, they have seen it. They're just too dumb. No, you literally can't say that they feel free. They might not feel free. I don't care if they have $20 million in their pocket. They might not feel free. And, you know, I did that. You know, I had a cover band, you know, years ago, and one of the members had a relative who got us a gig playing cover songs at a national or a Native American festival. I don't know how that worked, but, you know, we came and played our, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s covers there. And, you know, it was in Indiana, so John Mellencamp was always a big hit. You know, we sang our song, you know, Ain't That America? And the crowd just stared at us. I didn't get it. I was like, wow, the song's always a big hit. What's the deal? And, you know, at the time, the you might be a redneck if jokes were in style. And I walked through a tent that was selling shirts after we were done singing that said, if land of the free doesn't apply to you, you might be an Indian. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, what did I just do? I just stood in front of these people. You know,
but you bring up the point, because I wanted to give you an alternative possibility to what you said, Jason, which is this hold on patriotism and idolatry and what you and Nick are saying, because I got to hear an interview with the individual who organized the Charlottesville rally, and his anger began in the most common, relatable way you could imagine. It began with him going to school to be an engineer, to be in healthcare. It's one of those two, I believe, either healthcare or engineer. He had experience. He went to go get a job. He could not get a full-time job. He was able to get part-time work, extremely part-time. He was in a room with several people who had full-time jobs at the places he wanted to work at. He asked them if they had experience, and they said no. And it drove him up the wall because he started feeling that now the white man is being oppressed. And that affirmative action, because it's not just affirmative action, isn't just black people, right? It's okay. A woman with no experience will get a job before I can, simply because I'm a white man, even though I have experience. a black person will get a job before me because of affirmative action. Because if you're an organization, a corporation that's really good at affirmative action, then you will hit numbers and it will show. Right. So this drove all these other thoughts that he had. And when he was pushed on, hey, you're lining up with all these white supremacist ideas and ideals, he dismissed it and said, what do you mean? It's our country. And I thought that was a very revealing retort he had. You see, the reason why the John Mellencamp song crushes everywhere but at that Native American place is because it's your country, Jason. And we're just borrowing it. The reason why it's sacrosanct to not stand for that flag if you're a minority is because the white people that own this country are saying to us minorities, you are borrowing freedom from us. How dare you? It is our corporations, our businesses that pay you all this money. We own it. It's ours.
I'll give you one. So the Dick Gregory quote that I think he gave to us, Chris, when we met with him. Mm-hmm. He said, do you realize that there's 1.5 million black men missing in America right now? Do you understand that? I say, what? 1.5 million black men missing? Mm-hmm. And he takes you to a New York Times article. And the article says for every 100 black women not in jail, there are only 83 black men. The remaining men, 1.5 million of them, are, in a sense, missing, either from incarceration or early death.
Right.
Among whites, it's one missing white man for every 100 white women not in jail. Right. So 1.5 million black men. This is what they're getting at, right? This is the message that it's very difficult, nearly impossible for the majority to hear because of what is happening with or in the media, right? They're just debating the song, that's the debate right now. It has nothing to do with what I just mentioned or what Chris just mentioned. And that's unfortunate.
Right. It's not it at all. So we got a big show to get to. It's a new topic for the month. And I want to get to it. I'll say this last thing. And Brian, feel free to chime in too, because I know you might have some thoughts stirring in your brain in the background there. But one more thought. As you see the hyperbole spin all around you, and you see the media and other dark players feed this evil energy into the world, look out for paid government antagonizers, similar to the Seattle riots back in the early, what was it? The early 2000s, I believe, where they were protesting the G20 summit. And it was a peaceful protest, and people in black masks and black handkerchiefs started throwing rocks to the windows and turned it into a violent protest. The same thing happened on a college campus that I can't remember recently, where a gay man was killed by a campus security guard. They had a peaceful protest, and others came in. No one knew who these others were. They were just others. They incited violence, and the whole thing went apeshit. I told you about the shooter in Nashville. 3 comments down, you had a comment that was so out of left field and offensive. That person, you don't know if they're someone who is paid to be an antagonist, to create division instead of unity. And you're going to see it all over. Antifa, I think they're paid antagonists. That's what I think. I think they go around and their job is to make things violent and to make things disruptive. Because I saw it before. I wrote my college term paper on it. I think my senior year. So these antagonists, they have a nice organization and network that's global. So keep your eye open for that when you watch the news and you hear about protests that started peaceful and end violent. Try to see if there's video of the people who are inciting violence and see if their face isn't covered. Their face is covered, that's a red flag. Okay? Peaceful protesters don't wear masks. Anyway.
So yeah,
Brian, what's up?
So, I mean, I've been listening to this bullshit all fucking day. Like, I mean, you can't get away from it. You can't listen to sports talk radio. You can't listen to talk radio. I can't listen to podcasts. I turn on a fantasy podcast today and I listen to more stuff about the NFL and flags. You know what I didn't hear anything about today? Puerto Rico.
I saw some tweets from our fearless leader.
Yeah, that's it.
Tweets from
he chose to talk about that and make that the zeitgeist for the weekend, I guess. And not that we have an island or territory that's out of power and that there's thousands without food or power or refrigeration.
It's a great point.
I mean. No, that's what we talked about this weekend. That's what the focus was. Not, that this is just week 2 of the NFL, week 3, right? Week 2 is all about Houston, right. And the positivity and all the positivity that the NFL has brought. And, maybe somebody got a little jealous and now they want to talk about the negativity because the shine wasn't on them.
How strange is it that he's promoting this boycott October 1st of all the games, and the boycott logo is the NFL symbol with 2 X's over it that looks just like the Confederate flag. It's so weird. And the Puerto Rico thing is so true. Luckily, I follow Immortal Technique, and he tweets all the time about Puerto Rico, which is awesome. And I've been able to keep up with it. But you're talking about people who are in dire straits. I mean, how many times do you hear about an entire country being out of power?
Yeah.
Right.
And the problem is they don't have a lot of political capital, right? They don't have any senators.
They were already broke.
Yeah. And
which is what Donald Trump is actually almost mocking them for.
Yeah. So it's it's pathetic is what it is. And I have no other way to discuss it. I don't want, I personally haven't discussed, the NFL thing because of this, because anytime somebody brings it up to me that I immediately go to, well, have we talked about Puerto Rico today? I mean, and I'm not trying to be an asshole and not talk about
because you shouldn't dismiss the other issue either. Because
I'm not dismissing the issues, but I'm dismissing, thousands of, I feel like it's, there are people that are really suffering in pain right now. This moment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's dismissible. I think it is. I think it's dismissible. And not
that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, because it goes back, Jason, to the fact that I think this shit is fake.
Yeah. This is again, I said it last time. I said it again. This is to divide us. That's what it's for. Everything has been in the last several years, just, I swear to God, just to split us up, just to get, whether it's the, this president, his election, or dare I say any of the most recent presidents, to simply as a figurehead to say, okay, let's start some shit. People are going to really hate each other after we get to, give them these guys. Mm-hmm. And it's worked. It's worked. We fucking hate each other. I can look at, people that I love and I hear what they say, and I'm just like, God, how did we get to hate? When did this happen? I don't understand.
Our sewers are filled with pink slime. Ghostbusters 2.
Okay. Funnel it into the Statue of Liberty. We'll be fine. But,
where's Bill Murray? Bill Murray's going to have to save the world again.
Yeah, I own it, but just because I have to, it's not worthy of it. But it's awful, and we do need to dismiss it, not because there isn't something that these players are kneeling or standing for, but because the attention around it is a distraction, and it's just to say, hey, if they hate each other, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
Right, because here we are, 2 white guys, 2 black guys, or let's say a black guy and a biracial guy, but identify as black because that's how the cops treat me. And so we're right here on this conversation and we're saying, look, we get along. Why? Because we talk to each other. We know each other. We put shit on the table. It can happen.
A step further is that, and this is what they're capitalizing on, and it's our fault too, because we just we think of things, and it's human because we categorize and stereotype, and to fairly it's a survival mechanism, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but it's what opens the door to let them in is we do use that. So like we say, well, look, let's use this as an example. Here's two black guys, or, societally speaking, two black guys and two white guys, and they're getting along. And, nope, I'm going to correct you on that, actually. Here's four fucking humans that don't give a shit what the other ones look like. Mm-hmm. That's the key. There's four guys here that we may get to talking all the time about our different experiences and different upbringings and where we come from and how we deal in society. But the reason that there's such goodness, just go ahead and blow our own horn coming out of this is because there's four guys who don't think of the other. Well, that's because he's black. Oh, well, that's because it doesn't. It's not. We're just four humans. We don't have color with each other. Mm-hmm. We don't have race.
Mm-hmm. We have enough commonalities. We're very well said. We have enough commonality to lean on that instead of focusing on our differences.
Right.
Anyway, hopefully it gets better. It'll be interesting to see what we talk about next week as they try to do this boycott and as trouble in Puerto Rico and Mexico with another earthquake, all that stuff going on. A lot to talk about. We're not a political show. We don't try to play one on the internet, but I think sometimes the things that are happening around us are so in our face, it would kind of feel disingenuous not to talk about them. So let's pay these bills. I'm going to take a hard left turn and ask you a question, Jason. If you were to give someone a book, just one book that you thought they had to read, what book would that be?
I don't think it's a hard left turn. Plato's Symposium.
Okay, what is that? Say it again.
Plato's Symposium.
Okay, so what is it about that book?
I don't know. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe I shouldn't give that to the world. Maybe that's not my, because it just hits so well with me. Like it, because it's about thought.
See, I would have thought you'd have said some Danielle Steele novel.
I keep those all for me, just for me. Those are my stories.
That's my stories.
Exactly.
So, because like just what we were talking about with the ideas that we're so keen on holding on to, or these structures that they're just these things that have been shown to us. There's just these definitions we've been given, and they're empty and they're worthless and they don't have value. And I don't know. When I read it, and there's many different works by the guy that. That kind of shed light on this cave or whatever, but just that most of the time, what you're standing in front of is not. It's not really the thing, and you're rooting for something empty. So a hard left turn to go from that, but no, I would match it up to say that because it's about having a philosophical approach to life and searching for something more in the words and the meaning of things, and it's not just empty words. That's what I gathered from his whole spirit, and I guess that's maybe one of my favorite collections or writings of his that I. It kind of changed my life.
Yeah, it's good. I ask you because, and I hope it's popular because, we have this thing with Audible, and I'm assuming because they have 180,000 titles that they have this book,
Plato's no further, my friend.
A Plato Symposium. And
download it.
Yeah, there you go. You can download that. and get a 30-day free trial while you do it by going to audibletrial.com/MND podcast. And you heard it here first. If you want to check out the book that changed Jason's life forever, again, you will just go to audibletrial.com/MND podcast. You can do that today. This month, we are changing our topic as we always do. And I told you earlier on that it was related to a little bit of what this was driving this Charlottesville organizer. I'm forgetting his name. I really should know his name. We'll have it in the show notes.
Was this the bald Nazi guy, or is this somebody different?
I can't remember if he's bald or not, but he might be. But it's not the.
It's not the guy that was on Vice.
It's not the white nationalist guy. No, it's not him. I
think he was an actor.
Yeah, that's a different cat. But I say it's related because the thing that really drove him over the edge was this idea that he was being usurped. He's a traditional man that's white, and he expected, and I only mention his race because he mentions it. So this isn't me talking. This is him saying, hey, this is my country and I can't get a job because a woman with no experience can get it instead of me. And this is, I really believe, especially through middle America, this is at the heart of the troubles we're having today, not just between cultures, but in marriages as well. What is a man to do is our topic. And the way we've kind of put it is we're in this era that's witnessing the continued unraveling of the traditional roles and perceptions of gender on both sides. And so where does that leave the traditional man? And so I think
marginalized and angry, evidently.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing in culture is that there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of what will I do tomorrow? There's a lot of, hey, I had pride and now I don't. I was proud of myself and now I'm being told I shouldn't be proud, or I don't have anything to be proud of, or I'm now the leech and my woman can go out and get a job and I can't, sort of thing. But my sister and brother-in-law have been married for over 20 years, I think now, and he works from home and takes care of the kids. So it's all just where you are at in your head. And so we ask this question, is it time for us to let go of the machismo a little bit and start talking to each other and confiding in one another about our marriages, about our relationship, about our roles? And I'm excited to kind of get into that. And because I think we're seeing it play out in real life is what I'm getting to here. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, it's a game-changing environment we're in. I mean, you think about, I really think about the last maybe 2 to 5 to maybe even 8 years, the number of accomplishments that have been made and celebrated specifically by women, right? Not just accomplishments, but female accomplishments. Sotomayor on the Supreme Court. You're having, a female run for president. Mm-hmm. You've got Wonder Woman. This is the first superhero since Supergirl, and probably the first female superhero of, a couple of generations of kids who are coming through, right? It's like, mm-hmm. It's first all lead, changing. First lead superhero, right? Superhero, yeah. And then you have, Star Wars, these female superheroes, basically.
Honestly,
again,
that was more profound for me. That dynamic shift our new Jedi, that our new Christ. Oh, sorry, that's where it comes from. But our new Christ Savior is a female. Yeah,
yeah. Brian, how do you feel about that? I know you're one of the biggest Star Wars people in our group.
I was extremely excited about it, and especially because I have a daughter. That she'll grow up being able to see that. And because I have a son, and he'll be able to grow up and see that. I think it's important. I mean, that's, to me, there is no, regardless of what Chris thinks, there's no greater film to me personally than Star Wars.
You bastard, Chris.
Yeah. And so, it's when I was sitting in the movie theater and that kind of unfolded, because I had purposely watched maybe the first trailer and that was it. Like I avoided all other spoilers. And, the way it was going into it, it was either the protagonist was either going to be an African-American male or a woman, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, those are Finn and Ray. So it was interesting. Like, or what's the guy? The starfighter. It's killing me.
Isaacs.
Can't remember his name.
Yeah,
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac.
I love him.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
can't believe I can't.
So
remember
it was a Jewish guy. He's Jewish, right? It's Jewish. Oscar Isaac. I'm sorry, man, if I get you wrong.
Well,
black, Jewish, or female?
Well, I mean, naturally tanned guy, right? African American, and a woman, and one of the three, Dameron Poe. Okay, so that was the character. One of the three were going to be the main character, right? And that's a complete different look.
God, he's Guatemalan. I'm so sorry. I got to interrupt.
Yeah, I didn't think he was Jewish.
I fucking apologize.
Right.
But that's a good point.
Dark
that's
hair,
a good point.
That's all I know.
Oh my God.
But that's the game shift. That's the game
that's a
shift
good
that I
point,
was
John.
talking about.
Right.
Because it's literally it's in everything. There was a women's march. And it's.
But Nick,
everywhere that you look.
But Nick, let me ask you a question really quickly.
Do you own a pussy hat? Oh, that's not the question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And the answer is I own two. The traditional man. There's two kinds. It seems like. So why is it that one kind of the traditional man, or maybe tell me, do all traditional men see this as things getting more equitable or things getting off balance?
No, so I think the way I look at the traditional man is that there was a common understanding of the role of the man in society and in relationships, right? There was that, like the idea that you mentioned, machismo. Like there was the macho man, either head of household, head of corporation, head of the world, and it was one of those things that, I would say could go unspoken, though it was probably laughed about in bars after work and things like that. But it could go unspoken. That was a common bond. And where I look at today, there is no status quo, right? There is no average. There is no common thing. Like, what is the common role of a man in anything? So with that happening, so before, we didn't have to get together and talk about our issues, we didn't have to worry about issues in marriage because we were the head of the household, right? They were supposed to do what we said, or, if they didn't do what we said, then we do other things. We go elsewhere. And that's just, it's okay. That's just, hey, you're a man. You just do what you need to do. That whole thing is shifting. And my thing is, as the paradigm shifts for men, I think that we likely need to get together and talk about what this new world is. What is the new common? What is the new normal? What is the new whatever it is? But just talk about it. Because if we're not talking about it, then we're not defining what our, maybe common principles, common values, whatever, going forward. We're letting other people define those for us.
Right. Okay. So Jason, let me ask you this. What did it mean when your dad told you to be a man? And would you say you're a traditionalist? Didn't all of our fathers say that to us at some point? Hey, be a man.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but I think I haven't said it to my son, but I've thought about it, Yeah. And that's, is it upbringing, or is it, is there any nature in there, or is it all nurture? I don't know.
I think it's both. I definitely think it's both.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think it's just made up. And well, here's this part of it, and it's lesser in me than maybe some other people. So you can gauge people who are more extreme from my comment, but to some degree, well, I don't give a fuck. To some degree, I think the world benefits from that statement a little bit. It's grotesquely overapplied and misapplied, but sometimes I don't know. And it isn't about necessarily having a set of balls, but it's that's it's a good euphemism to use when you're talking about stuff. It's useful. We understand it, but there's something there, and I do find not just maybe my son, but I see other boys, or young men, even I see grown men, and they'll make a comment about something, and this is not, isolating people who, or marginalizing people who have feelings or, approach the world from an emotional standpoint. Hey, I'm right there with you. We're kindred spirits, but sometimes, yeah, I think, shut up, be a man, mm-hmm. What does that mean? Sometimes it means take the hit and don't fucking cry about it. I don't want to hear it. We're here to survive. We're going to pull everybody through. We're going to put them on our backs, and we're going to carry them to safety. That's what it is. That's, and I...
Is part of that nature? Is that about staying alive?
Yeah,
is that about survival?
Some of it is nature. Yeah, it's about survival. And I know that the female of many species is the defender and this or that, but when it came to that survival, that here comes the enemy, who's going to rush headfirst into it and die maybe. Well, a lot of times the male. I don't think it has to be cultural. And you know what? And the female maybe totally is capable. And I raise my daughter to be that capable. But at the same time, no, I'm not going to maybe drop that stereotype or I don't know what term you'd really call it. If there's the false label of be a man, like that's what does it. But
well, let me offer something on that one. I don't think my dad is, well, I know my dad has never said it to me, but I definitely heard it. And even the idea of, man up, right? To me, that has always meant control your destiny. And because you are in control of your destiny, and weakness of any kind is you giving up control, right? That's what it means to be a man, is to be in control. So again, weakness, don't back down, because no one's going to save you, right? You shouldn't have to rely on anyone else. Man up, get up, dust it off, keep going, be in control. You're in a relationship, you're the man. You're in control. Your kids are acting out, you need to be a man. Make sure you do what is necessary, punish your kids, do whatever to make sure they're not acting out.
That's
it's your
kind of the
responsibility.
ironic part, because historically that's never been the case. You know what I mean? Like when it's the kids are out of control or take care of the family, and this, like, it always got applied to that, like, because daddy would explode,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Keep it in order.
I'll beat some asses, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, but your wife is actually the one running shit. Shut up.
Oh yeah, but that's the idea of it, right? That's the idea of the man.
Yeah,
again, that's what I've thought about. So again, in this new or changing, evolving culture of ours, that is also applied to women. Right? Women, you are in control of your destiny. It's like a shocker now, right? If, okay, women are controlled and men are in control, then how does this work out in between us, right? Mm-hmm. Well, divorces are increasing at an alarming rate. Even people deciding not to have families, not to have children is increasing. So there's a lot of the dynamics are just changing around this fact that there's an independence, there's a greater control that's happening with women. There are the idea that it's okay to be, or more okay now even to be, LGBTQ plus, that's a change in the dynamic. 20 years ago, you'd have to man up. You could not be homosexual, at least not outwardly.
And certainly not in minority communities. And so,
Right.
Brian, you have 2 sons. Have you ever told them to man up, be a man?
Yeah, I have.
What did you mean by that?
I meant for them to grow a pair of balls. No, I'm just kidding.
And also tell me, are you a traditional man?
Am I a traditional man?
Yeah, you can tell me first or after, but I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so I have my kids. Yeah, I mean, I've told them when they're, but to be honest, I treat my daughter the same. I don't tell her to man up. I
was
don't use those
say.
words. I mean, no, but I have, I have taught her to be aggressive in situations. Which to me, that's what it means, that you push them to be aggressive, and you push them to take control.
Yeah.
And so man up probably isn't the good term to use. More, maybe I need to say, be more assertive.
Well,
That's
women
what I'm
have
looking
been, women have been using woman up. I've heard that a lot too.
Yeah.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, that one hasn't crossed my desk yet, but I'm sure it's being used.
I don't think it will. And side note, since we brought this in with superheroes, and Brian is the one talking on here, and he's our superhero guy. But I'd just like to say there's been a lot of criticisms about. Yeah, buddy, you're my go-to on that. Is there's a lot of criticism over like Supergirl, Spider-Girl, blah 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 blah, and there's like only Wonder Woman. That's just because it's 2 syllables. It wasn't like to. One has to be a girl, but there's Batman, but it's Batgirl. That is about. It's the single syllable. It worked better from the tongue. That's all. Wonder Woman was because of alliteration.
You could market it.
Go ahead. I'm just putting that out there. It's all about the syllables. That's it.
Easily marketable, easy to say.
Women.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm trolling Nick on that. It's an inside joke. Anyway, so Brian, are you a traditional man? And do you think this whole idea of saying man up is antiquated now?
Yeah, it probably is. I mean, like I said, I definitely think that we should, for me, I mean, I treat my daughter the same way I treat my sons. Probably shouldn't say man up. But, I'm not against, I'm a take it kind of guy. Like I'm definitely, if it's there, you should take it.
Okay. That's what I didn't know what you meant by that. I didn't know if you were saying you should.
He's a thief.
Are you saying you should take it, like take the punishment, take the pain, or you should take and seize the day?
Seize the day.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's more of seize the day than take the punishment, take the pain.
Because Jason's saying, hey, when somebody says man up, it means take the pain.
Mm. Well, I think it's not take it. It's endure.
Take the hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Endure, survive, thrive,
yep. Sure.
do this.
Yep. Yeah,
get through.
We can play the semantical dance all we want, but
no.
I mean, we are playing a semantic game. We're talking about the English language. So, I mean, if we're man up may not be appropriate, but like I don't think I've ever said or wanted to say to my son, man up, which is just, I guess you could say it's a different version of be a man. But so here's what I'll say. And it doesn't, the prophetic masterpiece, which was Way of the Gun. And if you haven't seen it, you should.
So
prepare
good
to be offended. And sad.
Many people haven't seen it. It's
Way of the Gun. It's Benicio del Toro, Ryan Phillippe, James Caan's masterpiece.
Same writer of The Usual Suspects.
Yeah. So
haven't seen either.
Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna fix that next weekend.
I can't.
Keep moving.
I don't know.
Just keep moving.
Hold on a second.
Derailed.
Right.
Shit. As it's not what you say. It's how you say it. And so it's what you attach meaning to. We've said, oh well, maybe we should revise. Be a man, or should we? Or should we put more value on somebody saying be a woman? That's the fucking miss. There's absolutely nothing wrong. There's nothing.
What does that mean?
Right, but that's the problem. We don't have a history of meaning behind that phrase.
That's right, because we did that. That's what I'm saying, because we haven't put value to that, because we've devalued that. That means be a bitch, be a servant. Take care of your man. That's what that historically means. So that's the problem. Isn't that we say be a man? That doesn't need to go away. Be a man. Learn to be a man. Learn to know what that is in your world, in the many different malleable ways that craftable ways that you can apply that. But what we need to define is what we say to our daughters, and it's time to be a woman.
Well, I think that's the thing that's happening now is that society, American society, in a way, is saying the opposite. And they're saying, don't say man up. Don't say woman up. They're saying don't refer to the genders at all. I'm not sure how I feel about this whole thing. What is it? Is it the Academy, Chris? Someone is saying it, with actors and there shouldn't be a lead male actor, award, and then one for a best female actor award. There should just be one.
When I'm on set, one of the things I'm very careful about doing is calling men and women both actors.
Yeah, I mean,
and they appreciate.
Well, I guess that's reached broadly now, but that's been, for actors, they've been aware of that for a long time. And maybe they should take that out of awards, but I think we really like to separate them more so we can just give more awards to the
That's
best.
What I would like to see, honestly.
You can take a whole fucking category out? That's kind of limited. Okay.
It's a 30-minute show. But that's the type
of... That might not be that bad.
But that's what I'm looking at, too. Like, that's the shift that's happening where, like, it might not be okay at some point to say man up.
But here's my thing. And I'll challenge that with saying, I get what they're saying, to say, well, we should just take the gender out of it. Why? Are you saying there's no value to your gender?
Well, no, what they're saying is that the gender does not define the behavior.
It does. I mean, I like, and this is one of those that many people, many professional people could get involved in, but now, I mean, in many regards, yes, it does, because they involve different body parts that involve different chemicals that affect the body, that affect the brain. I don't like. It's like saying, and that's what we've gone into, and that's the whole annoying part is that we said, we adore science in modern culture, but not when it comes to gender.
Yeah, I think these are more. These are definitely less about physical characteristics and more about.
But your physical characteristics.
I don't even want to call it emotional. Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't even want to call it emotional characteristics, but they're like toughness, right? Those kind of traits. Those are not physical attributes, but those types of characteristics and traits are what people are talking about, referring to, right? Toughness is a male attribute. Well, now they're saying, well, no, females can play football and they can be tough as men.
All right, this is where I'm going to throw myself.
So don't man up, don't woman up, just be tough.
I'm going to throw myself on the sword here. With that, because I always try to say on the side of the feminist, but it's not accurate.
The Last Samurai.
Wonderful. You can criticize Tom Cruise all you want. He just makes good movies.
Yeah.
We're 3 for 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As in 3 movies I haven't seen.
You caught me on my blatant agreeing there, because I was like, oh yeah, the last 3 movies.
Well, you're going to fall on your sword, but.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's not like females can they can play football. They can't play football with men. They can't. It's not. No.
Right. So again, this isn't about the comparison of the two. It's about toughness. Right. So the toughness isn't about, can you do this with a man or a woman? It's about being tough enough to actually be in a contact sport, and take these hits. Yes, you'll do it with women. Mm-hmm. But have you ever seen women play football? that's no joke, man. They're taking hits, this same idea of the, women being able to, take on higher positions in a company. You can manage other people. You can own your own business. The things that, again, were reserved at a time for the traditional man have now, and I don't want to, it's hard to say this because I don't really mean it, but it's one of those where it could have the feeling as though some of those things are being taken away from the man, and now women are now, they're taking on the role, which is potentially taking something from men. Again, what is the comment? Like, what does it mean to be, are you the man of your household? Right. Is that even a conversation we're having anymore?
Right.
And
so men aren't seeing, a lot of men aren't seeing this, Nick, as equilibrium. They're seeing it as an imbalance. Are you guys familiar with a guy named Gavin McInnes?
Yeah, are you talking to me and Brian? You just throw us in because we're Irish?
The whole group. Gavin McInnes.
That's cool, dude. Yeah, we all know each other.
Right.
Well, he started a fraternity that is, he's a chapter leader of a fraternity that is nationwide and is a pretty large movement. And it's called the Proud Boys. And the Proud Boys are controversial because they provide a safe haven for, at times, white nationalists and white supremacists. But if you talk to Gavin, he'll say, no, we actually find that deplorable. We find all that stuff fucked up. But here's what we do believe in. We believe in family. We believe the woman should be at the house. We're libertarian, except with immigration. His words, not mine. And to me, that means you're not libertarian. But anyway, and the last thing he said was, because this was something I was hearing, the last thing he said was, all in all, we're traditional men. And so there is a movement sweeping across the country for men to right some imbalance, when I think the very question of, is there an imbalance, should be asked. But there is a feeling, and to Jason's point, there is a spirit about it that's happening nationwide with average white guys for the most part. But here's the crazy thing. There are a couple of black dudes for sure in Gavin's chapter of the Proud Boys fraternity. So this is just men who want and need. Look, I had friends in college that said, I want my wife to be educated, but I don't want her to work. So
right.
we're freaking. Why are we so confused on this?
Well, let me read this one to you, Chrissy, about the Proud Boys. Mm-hmm. The basic tenet of the group is that they are Western chauvinists who refuse to apologize for creating the modern world. Like Archie Bunker, they long for the days when girls were girls and men were men.
Does it really say that? Like,
yes.
That's part of it? Because they didn't get that Archie Bunker was fucking satire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's
and also kind of racist.
Right, he was. But
intentionally racist in a satirical. I know it didn't work. Satire doesn't work. We know this.
But in context of what the group is about, you see what they're about, right? The chauvinists. Yeah. Everyone has a specific role. But yeah, I see that. So here, basically, the conversation that we're kind of getting into, and that we're actually having, is what is the conversation like for men now, right?
Because the irony of the Proud Boys, Nick, just really quick, because the irony of what you just read to me is blowing my mind.
Erotic activity.
Not just that. Well, also one of the rules, Jason, which you're not going to like at all, is that you can only masturbate once a month. If you're part of the Proud Boys, I'm not making this up. If you're part of the Proud Boys, you can
Mr.
only...
McConnell, we've decided that you're going to have to leave the fraternity.
They will kick you out if you masturbate more than once a month, for sure.
Were they monitoring you?
But Nick, the irony is that they consider themselves Western chauvinists, but they would get along fantastically in the Middle East and in Eastern culture.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the thing that I'm looking at here is that the conversation can be totally different, right? So that is literally, they're saying they're chauvinists and we're going to band together. And this is the point, right? Like, now that things are changing as much as they are, men will find themselves needing to band together to define their identity. in society and in their relationships.
Very interesting.
You know, and maybe to even deal with the adjustment. You know, I think like there was like one of my wife's friends, you know, she got married and, you know, the husband was basically like, okay, well, it's time to pop out these babies. You know, like that's what we're going to do. Like you're going to have like 2, 3 baby, you know, like this and one after the next. And like, she didn't really realize the woman in this relationship didn't realize like that was going to go down. Right. And then of course, and what's the husband doing? Well, he's doing the golf thing. Right. So he spends, you know, the majority of his time either at work or playing golf and then expects his wife to raise these children.
Yeah. Yeah. Still,
you know, so
commonplace, sadly.
You're right. So imagine now, let's say that's working for him, right? She is popping out these babies. He is working and playing golf and doing whatever. But then you got the guy who thought that was the way it was going to be. And his wife was like, oh, no. I'm working on my small business. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm an entrepreneur. I'm trying to do these things. Like that guy is it's like a rude awakening. You know, like the idea of the macho or the traditional man just got thrown out of the window. What am I to do? So where does that guy go? You know, who does he talk to about this stuff? Because, you know, traditionally as men, we don't talk about this stuff. Mm-hmm. These are not conversations we're supposed to have. I'm supposed to be a man. I'm supposed to be in control of my destiny. If I am in control, and I am the aggressor, I am not showing weakness and calling my buddies up and saying, dude, my wife wants to be an entrepreneur and she won't have the babies and I can't play golf because she's out. I mean, like, so that's what I'm saying is that men are going to find or going to need to find some sense of community to just handle the major shift that is happening right now with women in our American society.
Do you agree with that, Brian?
Man, I'm just caught up on this guy's by his wife's bio right now. Like this guy Gavin.
Oh, you looked up Gavin. Okay.
I looked him up, and I mean, it was like,
I'm gonna look it up.
Well, no, it's not about her being hot, but it's about
answer the question.
So what struck me was, she's all right. So what struck me was he was married for 12 years. He's been married for 12 years and has 3 children. So I'm like, well, what kind of woman is married to a man that makes these kind of statements? Because as you read his bio, it's you know, there's some alt-rightness in there, mm-hmm. And as I go through it, and it says she's Native American heritage. Her mother's side of the family, you know, she's Native American. She's spoken out. She's attended San Francisco University.
Oh wow!
She's a writer, raised by free-thinking parents. So I'm thinking that this guy's full of shit.
Yeah, he might be another Fugazi guy brought in to divide us.
He's a fraternity leader
on some Breitbart.
And also, he's the godfather of the hipster movement. Is what he's.
my dudes. I am reading. Wait. I am reading this. I have to read this out loud.
Okay.
First degree, you publicly declare you are a proud boy. This means you make your Western chauvinism public and you don't care who knows it. If you support Trump, how can you not if you're a proud boy? And it comes up in the cafeteria, you proudly state your stance. If that gets you fired, so be it. Our forefathers died in battle to protect our freedoms. The least we can do is be inconvenienced. There is no anonymity in pride.
He was born in England, by the way.
Second, I love it. Wait. This is great. This is great frat boy stuff right here. Second degree. You must get the crap beaten out of you by at least 5 guys until you can name 5 breakfast cereals. If you hammer out Chex, Cheerios, Rice Krispies, Corn Flakes, and Special K in a matter of seconds, you're free to go. If you get flummoxed by the punches and cannot think straight, well, sorry, you're going to get pounded.
Yeah, this is actually true. So I heard about this. Their initiation is that you must name 5 types of cereals while getting your ass kicked in order to show your toughness and focus.
In over cereal?
Yep. They jump you in and you have to name 5 cereals. And the second you name the 5th, you can leave. I don't believe
it. I think that's bullshit. I don't think they're beating each other in, not like that. Nah.
Both physical fighting and arguing require you to maintain your composure and not get petty with ad hominem attacks or I just can't, forfeitures. Yeah, man.
Yep.
So again,
That's too much, Chris.
yeah, but this is what I'm talking about, right? This is the thing. Like, men are either lost and don't know who to talk to,
Right.
or they're having conversations like we're having, or they're creating the Proud Boys to defend their masculinism.
Okay.
like
If we
that.
were
See,
going
like
to
creating-
create
I just created a
a
new word.
fraternity, oh, what's the word? Say it one more time.
Masculinism, not masculinity. I like masculinism because we coin words here. So they're defending that
I'm not a fan of isms.
by creating. I don't like isms, but they're creating things like the Proud Boys.
Masculinism. I don't know.
It's hard to say. I know. I'm sorry, but that's the deal. So
if we created a frat, Nick, what would be our rules? Like the four of us, if we had like a way, we created a situation, a frat, let's say a group, where would it just be called Married Not Dead? Like,
yes,
where we talk with each other about the changing world and the kind of life we want.
yes, it's open discussion. It's understanding. Everyone is in a different place. Like I don't define myself, nor do I define my relationships by any of the three of you or the three relationships that you have. And you all don't do that with me either, right? Like,
Right.
we can learn, we can share, we can refute, we can debate, deny, we can do all of these things and never have to come to any common ground other than the fact that we are all working hard to be the best versions of ourselves in the relationships that we're in with our spouses. Like that right there is enough of a common theme. Like that will be the entry into our fraternity. Just want to be the best version of yourself in your relationship with your spouse. And then, of course, since we're married men with children, with our children as well.
So we have a number of fans in the UK. We have a number of fans in South Africa, Australia, Florida, Tennessee, Indiana, New York, California. For all you guys out there listening, feel free to join our new movement where there is no fee to enter. All you have to do is bring your honest self and want the best for your own relationship and others. And there you go. You're part of our new fraternity.
Mu Nu Delta. Just Mu Nu Delta.
Poobah.
It's Mu. Mu.
Poobah Delta.
Mu Nu Delta. That
It's
would
Mu.
be
MND. You're right. It's Mu Nu Delta. I like it.
No, Mu, not Mu.
Yes, Mu.
Mu Nu Delta.
Delta. Okay.
Yep.
Good job, Jason. I like that.
Yeah. Well done, man. Well done.
For a guy who hates frats, kind of nailed that one. That was well
And
done.
non-English alphabets, I know you have a feeling about that too. So,
Yeah, this is a good start. I look at this, and it all comes down. We talk so much about, as men, we talk so much about what we want our wives to do, the control we want to have, the job we want. If you're traditional, about the role you should play in society and how tough you need to be. And we talk about manning up, but this whole thing comes down to emotions, because I promise you fellas, and to anyone listening, let go of that. If your wife works, you will win because of it. So let me just be the first to jump out and say, my wife and her working has made my life 10x better, maybe, versus her staying at home. And it's simply because I have no emotional tie to what it is I'm supposed to be. Are you guys like that? I mean,
it might even gone further for you. I mean, if we think about it from that, where you are maybe professionally now, and we've talked about this, how you went to, college and your wife worked and then you swapped, you did different things. Like it's paramount in your own success.
Yes. It was
necessary.
Yeah, I agree. And I just don't I don't have a connection to that thing that the guys hold on to. Like I told you before, I had a friend who almost got divorced because they couldn't decide in their marriage who was going to pay the bills. That's a fucking nightmare job. Why would you ever want to spend your time paying bills? But they were going to get divorced over it. As soon as I knew that my wife wanted to pay the bills, I said, go for it. I would much rather do almost anything else. Almost anything. Like I would.
Well, sure, as long as she's good at it.
Yeah. I would rather let Floyd Mayweather continue to jab me in the forehead over and over again than pay the bills. Like I don't want to do it.
Look, he's not getting paid for it, and you're not a woman. He's probably not going to hit you.
Oh no! Speaking of the traditional male,
body blow.
But yeah, I think it's just one of these things where I'm not making her. She wants to do it. I'm not making her pay the bills. She wants to do it, and the things she wants to do, I say, I've always looked at relationships like this. The only way you're going to conquer this concept of someone always looking for the bigger, better deal is to become the bigger, better deal. And the only way you can become the bigger, better deal is to always be enhancing their greatest life's aspirations. So it's really important that you find out what the hell each other want to do the most and do everything in your power to give them that.
I just don't get how you would not, unrelated to you, if you say, I love my spouse, male or female, and somehow their happiness is not independent of yours, I don't want to be so bold. Well, I don't know. You might not know what love is. I'll say that.
Right.
You know, I guess maybe if you have trouble with that, maybe you feel differently about your kids, and you know, look, I want them to be happy, even if it's at cost to me. That's if you have to use that for a guideline of you know, an image of maybe that's what love is. Go with that and apply that to your spouse, because that's what it is. Like, you know, I want my wife to be happy, unrelated to me, and I hope she wants the same. It's perplexing like that. Like, I want my wife to do this for, like, it's hard for me as an individual when I hear men, especially men. I know women do this, but especially men who like talk like your friends, you know, your friend did about his role in the marriage, or just don't concern themselves with what their wife wants. Like, it's hard for me not to go, you're a bad person.
Right.
You know, I know that's not always true, but let's say that there's a chance if you aren't normally aware and consciously focused on your spouse's happiness, there's a fair chance you're a bad person. You're kind of a virus. We'd probably be better off without you.
They bring us home on this.
Yeah, so for me, it's just a matter of this. So where do we go? You know, is there going to be, it seems like with this female or women's movement that is happening as a collective. It's like they're all in on it, you know, and they're all wearing the pussy hats, you know, and they're all marching, and they're all trying to start their own businesses and starting their own businesses and they're all doing it. You know, it's like that's what it feels like. Now, we know it's not in certain parts of the United States. You know, there's still the idea of the breadwinner and the woman who's at home making the babies and taking care. Like, we know that. But this is what it feels like. But will it ever feel like that for men? Well, obviously not. You get the Proud Boys and we're like, oh, funk that. Like, we're not about that life. So I feel like it's going to always be pockets. You know, what does manliness mean to you and to you and to you? And there's going to be a million of those, and there's going to feel like there's this collective woman's movement moving on its own, while men are still fighting amongst ourselves to try to figure out what manliness really is and what our role, if any, is, other than back to a statement that I think, you know, that Jason's made, that we've made before. Okay, if we take away the man part of it and just say that we're human, and the two humans are in this relationship together and raising a family, then what is the role of humans, in the relationship?
Right.
We do that, and maybe we're getting closer to the answer. But everyone would have to do that. Proud Boys are about what is the man's role, right? If we can evolve from that collectively or even in large numbers, and we get to the idea of humans, then maybe we can have a more common and more productive conversation about what our roles are in our relationships and our roles are collectively in society.
I love it. And for once, I think that minorities might not be the last to the party on this. I think the fastest growing demographic for entrepreneurialism is Black females. So with that, everyone out there on the internets and in the world, you've been listening to the Married Not Dead podcast. To find show notes, read awesome blog posts, to find links to all of the products or services suggested during the show, please visit our blog at marriednotdead.org. If you haven't already, you can join our podcast tribe on the Apple Podcast app, SoundCloud, or the podcast app of your choice. We're everywhere. If you do that, please do not forget to rate and review. If you have trouble rating and reviewing, let us know either on Twitter, and you can find us on Twitter or on Instagram at _marriednotdead, or you can search us on Facebook by searching for the Married Not Dead podcast page. Let us know, because we've heard that some of our reviews aren't going through for whatever reason. So check it out. Let us know. Anyhow, until next time, on behalf of my Wonder guys, my proud guys,
Wonder Boys.
my Wonder Boys, Nicholas Buggs. It is a great movie.
It's another movie I haven't seen.
Jesus.
Right. And don't you dare call me Wonder Boy. I'm Wonder Man.
That was a one.
Chauvinist pig.
That was a wonderism. So
That's right. I'm a proud boy.
yeah. On behalf of my proud boy, Nicholas Buggs, Brian Comer, and Jason McConnell, I'm Chris Barkley. See you next week. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/MND podcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from, including one of my personal favorites, How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia by Mohsin Hamid. Do not judge this book by its title. The ending had me crying in the middle of a 4-hour flight to Los Angeles. It's made even better by Mohsin's narration, and you can download How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia or any other audiobook of your choice today. Again, for listeners of the Married Not Dead podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So, to download your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/MND podcast. Again, that's audibletrial.com/MND podcast to get your free audiobook today. You will not regret it.